So guys, we talked in the beginning about a Red Mirage. So how in some of the states they count the mail-in ballots quickly, and in some of them they count them slowly. And so in the states that count them slowly, Trump will appear to have a lead, but it's not real. Now, in Pennsylvania, he appears to have a lead, but I would still be fairly confident that it's not real. But the problem is, the Red Mirage did not hold, as far as we can tell, in Florida or North Carolina, and it looks like he's gonna win those anyway. So, well, then that makes you question the strength of the concept of a Red Mirage if you're being honest about it. And so, since it didn't hold, it appears in Florida and North Carolina, then you worry a little bit more that it won't hold in Pennsylvania. But if things were normal, and obviously we're not within 100 miles of normal at this point, but if things were normal, we wouldn't be as worried, because you'd be thinking, well, likely Biden's gonna win Pennsylvania anyway when they count the mail-in votes, which are coming later and are heavily Democratic. We know those things. That's not a poll. That's registered Democrats versus registered Republicans. And that's far more certain. So at the end of the day, you could still have Biden winning all the Midwest and Pennsylvania and Arizona, and it's not a blowout, and he made us way too nervous, but it's still a fine enough win and a solid win. And that's why I kept saying Biden's still the favorite, right? And at one point I thought we were at the nadir, we went a little lower, okay? And now with Arizona maybe being called, it looks like we're on the way back up. Now, but there's also the wild card that consistently throughout the night, and at least what I have seen, Fox News has been the most optimistic for Biden.
That's right.
And the New York Times has been the most optimistic for Trump. Well, I don't think they're planning it, but.
Go ahead, Alonzo.
That's the world we're living in. That insanity that you just described is the world we're living in. So, I don't know. I hope you're right, Cenk. I hope you're right about the red. I forgot what you called it, but
Mirage,
the Red Mirage. I hope you're right about this. I don't know. What Ben said earlier about the Democrats winning 3 elections through the popular vote, but losing the presidency. The only thing that's going to change that, and I don't know when or how it happens, let a Republican win the popular vote and lose the electoral college, and watch how fast the electoral college disappears, gone. It won't come up. These are the kind of fights that the Democrats forget the day after election day. Like, how many times do you have to be screwed by this before you work on changing this, before you work on figuring out a way to make people's votes matter everywhere? Why are we always beholden to small states? And when I say small, I mean smaller in population, smaller in economy, and the major states like a California or a Texas or a New York or whatever, it's just a given, so they don't even count. There's something fundamentally wrong with our election system. Let's work on changing it. And this is the kind of thing that the Democrats have to work on in between elections. Like, today's not the day to have this argument.
Yeah, I hear you, but Alonzo, in a sense, you nailed the problem exactly right. We all know with great certainty that if Democrats lose elections that they won the majority in, they'll do nothing about it. And if Republicans ever lost an election that they had the majority in, they'd rip the country apart to change it. That's strength versus weakness. And we all, whether we say it out loud or not, everybody in the country knows in their bones that the Democrats are weaker. That's a massive, massive problem for the Democratic Party. All right.
I don't know, Cenk, I didn't mean to interrupt you. And I understand what you're saying about weaker. I think the problem is the Democrats are spread too broad, too many ideas, trying to please too many people. The Republicans at the end of the day, I have a friend, she put her money where her mouth is. When Trump won, she moved to Canada. She was Canadian, she had lived in the United States. He won, she said, okay, I'm getting out the country. But she put it really simple. The Democrats can't come up with a good slogan. The Republicans It's just simple ideas, right? They're gonna take your guns, or they're killing babies, or and it could be nonsensical. It doesn't have to be true, but it's simple. Then the Democrats go into nuance. I mean, Trump has been lying about having a healthcare policy for coming up on 5 years. We know he doesn't have a plan. He doesn't have a policy. They're believing that he's gonna help the people with pre-existing conditions while he knocks down pre-existing conditions. I don't know if it's weakness or you're aiming too high. You're aiming too high. Simplify, make people understand it. A simple statement is easier to get behind.
Yeah, but I think Alonzo, that actually suits Cenk's argument. Like, stop with your nonsense of we're trying to bring dignity back and reaching across the aisle. Take a stand on something that people want, and we know that polls show that the Democratic positions on almost every important issue is either solidly supported to overwhelmingly supported. So support those issues, run on those issues, and then at least for the presidency. And I'm telling you, for a lot of these Senate seats too, you look at the Democratic candidates who seemed strong. Find candidate. Look, it's not an accident that the last two Democratic presidents, who were too centrist for most people here at the Turks, certainly Bill Clinton, these were dynamic guys, unbelievably dynamic guys, lit up the room, made their point strongly without a sense that they were making fun of the other side. It worked, right? And Hillary Clinton and Joe Biden are not in that mold. And I hope that at some point there will be a recognition that people, I don't know if her specifically, but people who have the dynamism of somebody like Alexandra Ocasio-Cortez ought to be at front and center of this party, whether it's winning a seat in New York and being Senate Majority Leader, or whether governor of New York, or whether somewhere down the road she runs for president. I'm not saying I agree with her on everything, but she represents the kind of person who is reminiscent of Bill Clinton and Barack Obama.
Yeah. Thanks for watching The Young Turks. We really appreciate it. Another way to show support is through YouTube memberships. You'll get to interact with us more. There's live chat emojis, badges. You've got emojis of me, Anna, John, JR. So those are super fun. But you also get playback of our exclusive member-only shows and specials right after they air. So all of that, all you gotta do is click that join button right underneath the video. Thank you.